Hello everyone, and welcome to episode number 4 of Feed Your Soul. And I am so excited to have Marlene Higgins here, who is a really, really good friend of mine. And she has a very amazing and inspiring story to share. And I just want to say thank you for being here, Marlene, and welcome.
Pleasure as always.
Yay! So before we get started into the podcast, to loosen all the guests up, I do something called a soul second. Okay, so we are going to chair dance.
Excellent.
Here we go. Oh. Yeah. Woo. So I handpicked the music, for each guest. It's not always the same.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Did my hair get?
No, actually, your hair is looking so perfect.
Excellent.
As per always. Oh my gosh. So thank you for participating in Soul Second. Marlene used to come to my studio at Soul Studio, and I think that is actually where we became really good friends.
Absolutely.
Was from Soul Studio. And I think you came to a class when I wasn't teaching at Soul yet. But I wasn't even teaching, really. No. So that was interesting. And then all of a sudden we just kind of connected at Soul, and it was just such a beautiful thing. But before we get into all of that, one thing that I loved and how we connected really was in terms of business and our thoughts on business, because you are in the corporate world, or was in the corporate world, are in the corporate world. So I'd like you to take me on a little bit of a journey of, how you kind of got into what you do, and what is your expertise, which is HR.
Yeah. I call it the accidental career that I've had.
Yeah.
Because leaving high school, I got a scholarship in music and thought I was going to play in the orchestra, and I had traveled around the world beforehand.
Yeah.
Doing so. And when I returned actually from Australia, time to step into university, and started in performance and took education as the second.
Yeah.
And I was a working while learning kind of kid. I had a job at London Drugs.
Yes.
And went into IT, not by choice,
Yeah.
but by job posting.
Yeah.
And started supporting stores and fixing their systems. And a lot of teaching jobs weren't available at the time. So I made a change into technology and got picked up by a cool organization called Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers.
Yes, which I think you've told me was probably it was just such a highlight in your life.
Absolutely. It was a critical learning point for me, where they didn't have an IT trainer. So that actually became me. So I was like, adult education in the workplace.
Yeah.
People are super interested in what I got to say, because I'm going to help them make money.
Awesome.
Versus kids in high school or elementary school who are there because their parents tell them they have to be there.
Yes.
So, that world opened up to me, and I didn't know that was even a job, if you will. And corporate companies weren't really focused on adult education and focusing on skilling their new employees to become successful employees.
Yeah.
And then if you put some thought into it, it became the engagement factor, and it became the path to driving results.
Amazing.
Right? And all the little pieces that come along with it is, if I can demystify and take away the fear of performing a job right.
Yeah.
And it actually unlocks your security in terms of your compensation.
Yeah.
Well, gee, why not?
Yeah.
And it removed a lot of anxiety for a lot of folks.
Amazing.
So I stepped into that.
Yeah.
Ritchie Brothers was a pivotal point in my career, where I spent time going around the world training technology systems for Salesforce.
Amazing.
And they were all at that time, 50 different versions of my dad. I don't know how else to put it. And I had given them a laptop and told them, your world's about to change and you're going to love me because I'm going to teach you how to use this computer. But right now you hate me.
Yeah.
Because now you have to do your job on a computer. This
right.
is like 1997.
I was going to say, what's the 90s?
This is the late 90s, right? And went around and did that, hired the team, trained them on how to use the tools.
Yeah.
And then when you're training and helping them with their work, once you get back home, they started telling me their problems and what they liked about their boss or didn't like about their boss. And I remember at the time, who I reported to said, we're going public as a company. We're changing from being a private partnership to a pubco. And we're supposed to have HR, and you are going to do it. And I'm like, me?
Wow.
I'm like this IT person who thought I was going to be like a high school teacher. I don't know anything about HR. And he's like, you get who we are. You get our culture.
Oh my God, I love that.
Everyone tells you everything anyways.
Yeah.
So what you don't know, you'll go figure out and learn. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll probably make some mistakes. And they're like, but you get us.
Yeah. I think that's so cool. Like, what an opportunity to be seen that way. So, so young or early into your career. And the last episode, actually, I had Jason Podolin here, and he kind of mentioned too that like the path that he's at, actually somebody had told him like, this is what I think that you're really good at.
Yep.
So what I love is how this is kind of connected, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I will be good at that. But when someone hands you that piece of information, it gives you like a bout of confidence, and you're like, maybe I can do this. And really, what is the worst case scenario, Marlene? It doesn't work. You know, that's why I tell people, I'm like, why wouldn't you go down a path? Because the worst case scenario is it's not going to be for you. No. You know?
Well, the big piece was early on, I think I learned to just say yes.
Yeah.
And walk through a door.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know what the unknown is.
Yeah.
But also, I've always grown up around living and learning. And probably the earliest lesson I had was from my mom.
Yeah.
I was in swimming lessons and I failed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was devastated.
Mm-hmm.
And the response I got from my mom was, well, we'll re-enroll and you'll be a stronger swimmer when you're done.
Amazing.
I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, great, carry on. You know, and that's been since a 5-year-old.
Wow, stuck with you.
The thinking is, it's okay to fail, try again, you'll be stronger.
Yeah.
Right? What you didn't know, you didn't pick up, and you'll build strength and carry on. And I support you.
Amazing.
Right? Like, so I've had this early person just say, it's okay, go do it.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out. And so that showed up in the corporate world.
Yeah.
As we were chatting.
Yeah.
I had to create and build, but I had someone say, yeah, it's good, carry on. And the response from the folks around teaching them how to do their job, but showing them how it could turn into their commission or their compensation.
Right.
And they could live a better life, and that we had fun. Like, we had fun.
Amazing.
Doing
you put the fun into it, you know, and you kind of have to, I think, at a role like that or any corporate job. I feel like if you don't bring some sort of fun or energy, like it's not gonna, people aren't gonna grasp it.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And so that just became the pathway. You know, I joke and I call it rinse, wash, repeat, because then I was invited to join other organizations. Either family enterprise or publicly traded companies, or those that were converting crown corporations into private companies to help build the culture and put a system in place to help every new employee get into their lane and become successful.
Amazing.
And then there's business performance, right? So you're as connected to strategy as you can be because you see people potential and how that translates into company results and their results.
Right.
When I said that boss that I had said, what you don't know, you'll go and learn. Well, then I decided at 40 and wanting to move towards the boardroom, it's time to go back to school. Right. So I went back and did my MBA and took that on. And I did peace in France so I could have the international scope. And then I did a master's component in law. And then more recently, actually 2 days ago, I completed my ICD through the University of Toronto Rotman School of Business for the Institute of Corporate Directors.
Wow.
So now I can provide that oversight and governance to not just one company, but to multiple companies.
Wow. That's pretty cool that you haven't stopped learning, for one, and you love the career and the avenue that it's taken you. And I think that's really how we really bonded as well, because the love for business is there. Like, and so we would have some amazing conversations just about business and culture and the corporate world. Because I think back then, like, I always wanted to be in the corporate world. I never really had the opportunity, you know, to be in that big, like, I wanted to live in New York City and work for a marketing department, like all these dreams I had. But I just kind of loved always hearing your story. So that was kind of cool how we bonded over that.
Well, I think my funnest point is going to your studio.
Yeah.
A, it was for fitness. Two, it was an hour mind break for me, where you get lost in the music, you dance. Perhaps I became a bit more expressive. I might have whooped and hooped and hollered a little bit because I saw other people struggling and wanted to give them energy
and
to lift them up.
You would always be there. I'd always hear you. Yes.
Somehow, and from the back of the room, silently. But what I chuckled the most at is I'd be sitting in your class or when we would have an open house, and the magical things you did to create community, to encourage, to train, to teach, to engage, was like, this is a case study of HR that you don't even know you're doing. And I've watched thousands of companies spend thousands of dollars on trying to create this culture, and you're just doing it. And I'm like, I'd bottle her up and take her anywhere. You don't know silently you're in HR, but two, I spent thousands of dollars trying to put this in place as systems and processes and prizes and games, and you're just doing it. And the community at Soul Studio was delighted when you recognized them for taking 100 classes and you gave them a piece of paper. It wasn't the gift, it was the connection to what was something important to that individual.
Hearing you say that, and every time I talk to you and you do say that about me, like, I think that's just one of the biggest compliments, like, from you. So thank you for even seeing that. And like you said, I really was just doing. I think because why I do things is because I always feel like, how would I feel in that scenario? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And to me, it's not money motivated. It's like, even a job, sure, it's money motivated. However, it's got to fulfill you somehow. Do you, right? And what are those little things? It's recognition.
Yep.
So any workplace you go to, to be recognized or to give recognition is probably one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody. And if I say, hey, oh my gosh, I love your outfit today, it's not because I need to say that today. I actually legitly love your outfit. Yeah. So now I will randomly say that to strangers. I'll be like, oh my God, I love your outfit today. You look so good today. Like, I love your pants. Because it's been said to me before. It's probably been said to you, somebody randomly. You walk away, you're like, oh, you got spring in your step. Yeah. You're like, oh my God, she just like noticed my shirt. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. Right. But it's those things. I think it's being seen.
Yeah. Propose it this way is, one of the unique things that you've done is that you see the human.
Yeah.
You see the person, and all their vulnerability has been exposed, but you just saw them. Mm-hmm. And you may not have recognized that that was a gap for them or a fear, and that they went to this place, and when you pulled out and said, here's 100 classes, and they went, you saw me. Mm-hmm. Not for how good I danced or was I this or that. It was just, you saw me. That, I think, is a critical thing to connect and bond.
Yeah.
And it's the gift.
I feel like also, like, when you talk about HR and companies like that too, like, I don't know if you have ever, like, obviously you've dealt with bosses, but like, if you are dealing with the employee aspect, I bet you they'll remember how many times they were given a compliment versus not. Do you know what I mean? Like, which I feel like walk away with a compliment. And bosses, I think growing up in the olden days, I guess you would say it's a tough love out there. Yeah. There is no there really was no compliments. There is no like, hey, you did a great job. It's like, grind, get down there, work as hard as you can. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Great. You know?
Yeah.
But why not be like, oh my God, what a great job today. Yeah. You did a great job.
And I look at it to say, if I want to encourage somebody,
I
get a lot more when I say, do more of that.
Yeah.
Because that's really good. And then you know, let's do a little less of this,
that. Yeah.
Right. And then it turns into why.
Yeah.
So when you're here.
Yeah.
And when you're here, we either need to correct it.
Yeah.
Or don't do it.
Right.
Right. And then now you're, doing more of this and stay there.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to create momentum out of what you're doing. And
Right.
you get more joy out of it.
Oh, yeah.
So
More joy.
It lands differently.
Yeah.
Versus, as we've seen in some of the more traditional, what I call veteran or boomer type of baby boomer type of leader.
Yeah.
Is, why aren't you just doing this? You should know how to do this.
You should know.
And I even as recent as last 2 weeks said to somebody, oh, you used the should word.
You should.
I said,
Ooh,
catch yourself.
Shudder when I hear that.
Catch yourself. What is...
You should know.
Yeah, which means they don't.
They don't know. And like, you're right. I think that is a veteran thing. And it's like, actually, if we did know, we wouldn't be asking,
Yeah. I don't want to make a mistake.
No, that's
I did
right.
not show up here to not get it right or
Yeah.
not do my best job.
Yeah.
Or do it correctly. So much turns into, did I get shown the right way?
Yeah.
In a way that I can actually digest it and learn it the way I need to learn it.
To learn.
That's why I look back at that critical path of doing that undergrad work around becoming an educator, but learning that people have different learning styles.
Yes.
And you got to connect with them where they are.
Yes.
And then that musical performance piece was, I know when I'm creating something and the audience is engaged, and I also know I need to end before they end. Like it's, where's that point?
Yeah.
And you got to hold them there and it's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
But when you lose them,
They're gone.
They're gone.
It's like, hello? You can't even get them back.
Nope, it's
Literally.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I love that you talk openly about your HR and you've shared a lot of stories in your business world, which I learned from as well. I would always take advice from you and throw things by you all the time. So it's so nice to have such a great friend. We've built up a great friendship over the years. And definitely Soul was one. And we did Mexico retreats. Marlene has come to Mexico a couple times where it was like literally 25 to 30 women.
Yes.
Women. And people are like, how do you guys all get along? I'm like, there was not 1 ounce of drama.
Nope.
So I don't know if it's just because like we were all, like you said, all just on the same level and just going out having fun and dancing. I don't know. It was it was pretty cool to see that so many different diverse people can come together and like just be together. Yeah. So that's another thing I think I had mentioned in episode 1 with Judy was that a lot of people put those things on like the limits on themselves saying, I'm not going to have fun. It's going to be all women. We're all not going to get along. If you put that limit on yourself, you're actually stopping yourself from actually getting the most out of what it could give you back. So I don't know. Anyways, it was quite magical those years. And the other thing that I was thinking about too, is we laugh and I thought of a story because I knew you were coming, to get interviewed. And I was like, I thought about my baking. So like, again, in episode 1 and 2, I've been talking about this baking that I've all of a sudden started doing. But like one time I was over at Marlene's house I think there was a few glasses of wine had, but she's making a wedding cake, like a wedding cake. And I'm like, I go, you're making a cake? Anyways, we ended up doing this like hilarious to Imagine Dragons, I think it was.
It absolutely was.
So Serena sets up her camera and I'm like, let's film something. Anyways, it was really funny. And if I find a clip, I'm going to have to make sure that I show you because everybody got a chuckle out of that. Absolutely. It was like a musical cooking show.
Our own version of Julia Child.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It was so good. So recently, Mar, you have gone through a little bit of a big health scare.
Yeah.
And Feed Your Soul, this podcast, I really like to talk about transition into transformation or kind of where you're at. And as we've learned in the last couple episodes, we all go through many stages of transition.
Yeah.
Into transformation. But this one was a little bit of a scary health scare for you. Yeah. So I remember coming back from Italy. This was last September. And everything was great. And then I get this phone call. And it was from my friend Marlene. And she says, hi. I was actually at the golf course. I remember these things because it was a little bit like trauma, like, you know? So then anyways, you call me and then you're like, hey, Serena, like, I just want to let you know that we've discovered a lump on my breast. Mm-hmm. And I remember, I actually didn't know what to say. Yeah. Definitely had a couple tears streaming down my eyes because my mom had cancer. She's made it through, but like, I don't think I've really had a close friend that has gone through something like that.
Yeah.
And then we got together and we had a dinner before you decided to venture off. So I want to just rewind a little bit and, kind of tell us a little bit about like what it was like to get that news. How were you feeling? And that beginning part of that scary journey.
Yeah, no kidding. Last year, I went and had a mammogram, and I've been religious and staying on top of them because I had a biological mother. I was an adopted child. So a biological mother that at 56 was diagnosed with cancer, and within 6 months she had passed away. And her sister, same thing, at 59 passed away from cancer. And I was like, oh no, this is not going to be my story, period. And, you know, different generation, different times had grown up around smoking and had believed that it was partly environmental, that they had faced cancer. But I stayed close to my own health, constantly going for mammograms and making it known through the healthcare system. So they kept me on a 2-year, a 1-year, a 6-month, going back to a 1-year, going back to a 2-year.
Yeah.
And saying, Marlene, you've just got dense breasts.
Yeah.
You're clean. You don't need to come back for 2 years. I'm like, okay. And even through COVID, went and made sure that the mammograms and CT scans were done.
Yeah.
And then I, last spring went, I don't know. And I'm touching my right side because that's actually where I felt like a hardening of the breast. And it wasn't like a lump, but it was like,
it didn't feel like you're normal.
Feel right. And I'm like, what's going on? And so, at that time my doctor had retired. And so I needed to find a doctor. And the clinic that I had gone to since I was 12 years old said, sorry, we won't give you a requisition.
Wow.
You've got to go find a doctor. So I went on this journey to get a doctor, wound up with an online doctor out of Ontario.
Online.
Yeah. Who wrote the requisition. I said, I'm concerned. She was like, no problem. She phoned me back 2 days later after the mammogram and said, you've had an abnormal mammogram. I said, okay, sort of.
Yeah.
Sort of expected that, knew that.
Yeah.
And then she said, you're going to get a phone call for a biopsy in the next 2 weeks, which did not happen.
Okay.
And then I phoned, and it was very difficult to get into the system. I'd gone through an online doctor who randomly you get a series of doctors. So trying to find this doctor again to say, where's my requisition, was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And then I did get with another doctor out of this online system. They were brilliant, by the way. And I said, hey, look, I just need a copy of the mammogram report. And so she said, no problem, I'll send it to you. And on it said greater than 95% malignancy.
And wow. And this is all through online, no face-to-face, no nothing. So you're trying to take your health in your own hands in Canada, right? In Canada, and which should be a good, healthcare or
good universal system. And here for us,
right? But in this case, you had to kind of figure out what to do on your own.
Yeah, and I got the report. Yeah, and then I was able to connect again, and I said, I'm seeing my report. It says greater than 95% malignancy. It also told my BIRAD score, which is your breast density.
Yeah,
and I would tell any woman, you need to know your BIRAD score. If you ever get told you have
dense breasts.
Dense breasts.
Yes.
And some days it's easy. Some days it's so hard.
Well, you got
Anyways, if you get that, you want to know that score, because then you want to be even further an advocate of your own health.
Yes.
At that point. Because the cancer cells are smart and they hide in dense breasts.
Okay.
I said to her, like, look, I didn't hear anything back. And I had learned about a clinic in Mexico where a friend's daughter had gone.
Okay.
That also had breast cancer.
Yeah.
And had a tremendous result from going there.
Were you kind of like looking for an option other than that because you weren't really getting anywhere? Is that kind of how this came to you, or?
I had started to tell my story to this friend of mine, an old colleague at Ritchie Brothers, actually.
Yeah.
And it was his daughter.
Okay.
And I said, he had told me about his daughter. She's a pilot. That, with surgery and things they were proposing, she'd have lymphedema, and it meant her pilot license might be taken away. She's 38 years old. Young. She went to this clinic. She left with no evidence of disease and continues to fly and is a cancer thriver now. So I had asked him a whole bunch of questions, and then I said to him, he says, you seem really curious about this. And I said, yes. I said, I know somebody that might need to go to this clinic. And then I said, okay, that person might be me. And so the conversation immediately shifted, and he said, here's what it is. You should chat to my daughter.
Yeah.
She'll tell you about her experience. She'll also tell you what the process looked like.
Yeah.
And so I said to this online doctor, Canadian, I said, here's my situation. I said, I have the ability to go out of country.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, Marlene, our system is collapsing. I would if I could.
Wow.
And I went, okay. And that was on a Friday. On a Tuesday, I was talking to the clinic in Mexico. I shared my results. They said, give me all your reports. We'll review it. And they said, on Sunday, get here. And on Monday morning, I went and I had a biopsy done. They had assessed the cancer. And on Tuesday, I started into a program of boosting my immunity system, boosting my nutrition, assessing the cancer, meeting with a psychologist, meeting with a mind-body coach, meeting with a fitness trainer, meeting with a nutritionist, meeting with a chiropractor, meeting with a research oncologist who was going to look at the specifics of my genetics to my tumor itself, and prescribing a program that over the next 3 weeks they would put me on, A, to boost my health, to then 2, put me on to chemotherapy and shrink the tumor, and then 3, I decided, because I had such an incredible caring experience there, that I would do my surgery there, and actually had the mastectomy done.
In Mexico.
In Mexico. And after I completed that, 9 days later, I got on an airplane and flew home with a recipe card from the oncologist there and this brilliant book of everything that I had gone through, the full pathology. And he said, here's a treatment that BC Cancer should put you on to now. Here's what your oncologist for your type of cancer should be recommending. And it should be underway within 2 months. If not, I'd be recommending you return here because we need to keep this going in what they call the adjuvant treatment side of cancer treatment. And so when I came home, I still couldn't get in. So I went to the emergency room and sat there and said, I'm not acute, but I do happen to have breast cancer and I need to get in. I need a referral. I need somebody to take care of my case.
Wow.
And so that happened. I did get into the system. They took all the information. And the oncologist that I met with here actually confirmed everything that the oncologist out of Mexico had said. Yeah. And said, this is the protocol. They did a really nice job of the surgery. Let's go. And so continued on.
Were they, how did they feel about you going to Mexico? Like, were they
skeptical?
A little skeptical?
Yeah, a little skeptical.
But like, had they heard of it before? Like, because people do go, right?
People do go. And what I was able to share is this was not hoopla or purely functional or drink soursop tea and
no, actually that's what I really appreciated about what you were doing, because you would text me pictures. So in Mexico, I'd always follow up and she'd text me a picture of what her day looked like. And the more I looked at it, the more I was like, why are why are we not having healthcare very similar to that here? I'm like, because I don't know if it's holistic, but I do feel like when you are ill or when you're sick, they just go for the problem, they take it out, but they don't understand what the body needs to actually recover.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I'm a doctor or anything, and this is why I'm so into health and fitness, is because I feel like if you don't look after your body properly is where disease stems. And I don't know, I think cancer could be linked to stress. I mean, everything is linked to stress.
Yeah.
And this is what I stress the most is people are like, no, I'm not stressed. I'm fine. Just keep shoving it in there. Just keep shoving it under the rug, shoving it under the rug. Little do you know you're on fight or flight.
Yep.
And little do you know what is happening in this beautiful body of yours.
Yeah.
And inside is where it becomes ready for disease or for whatever is going to get you. And I don't know if my theory is correct. However, what they were doing in Mexico, I truly believed in the meditation aspect, the holistic aspect of the green juice they were feeding you, going into yoga or Pilates and slightly moving your body. Yeah. Do you think you go to the doctor here and they'll say, you know what, I think you should go to an exercise class, or even put the importance of keeping a healthy and fit body? Yeah. And by healthy and fit, I don't mean like the fit, what we think fit looks like. Yeah. What I mean by healthy and fit is you are moving your body. You are drinking your cups of water. Yeah. You are eating your veggies. Absolutely. You know, processed foods, like, you know, eat it every once in a while. I mean, we all enjoy a treat every once in a while, but watch the processed foods, like your diet and everything like that, I believe. So that's why I was really intrigued by the treatment center in Mexico, because I was like, I would love to just go there and be a part of the holistic healing aspect of it, because you also need to go through psychological, like, you know, like mental health issues. Like, how are you dealing with such trauma? Yeah.
It was, you know, to be held in care is how I put it. And as Serena, you know, you mentioned, my daily program was booked to the 20 minutes. So I would get up in the morning, I would go get my vitals done. Yeah. So I would go down 2 flights of stairs to the clinic in the medical institute that I stayed at. You didn't leave that area. Yeah. And so down in the morning, 6:20 for vitals. At 6:30, I went over and I had hot water and lemon with a pinch of cayenne. Yeah. At 6:45, I sat down to meditate for 15 minutes.
So important.
At 7 o'clock, it was another hydration with more water and lemon. And then we went for breakfast. Yeah. And the breakfast was wholesome nutrition, plant forward. So I would have at breakfast not only a granola, vegetables. Yeah. I would have a protein. I would have a piece of fish. Yeah. Right? At breakfast, so that every meal had protein. Yeah. And then it turned into, at 9 o'clock, I met with the oncologist. At 10 o'clock, I was in having a hyperbaric oxygen chamber session. Wow. So that the oxygenation, the body was flowing right. Yeah. And then I would meet with the psychologist who would check in on my mental health and how I was coping and dealing with this. Yes. And then I would have lunch. Yeah. And the lunch again was very nutrition, plant forward. Yeah. Gone with the nitrates, gone with the processed, low gluten, no gluten, no dairy. Yeah. Turkey, fish, it's a Mediterranean style diet. But all of it is to make sure that the cells in your body are healthy. Yeah. And your body is as clean as possible to receive the medicine, whether it's science-based or holistic, functional medicine, that it could. Right. And then you would go and it might be an IV. It might be regional hypothermia. It might be fitness. It might be, you know, what's the next piece. And some days it was mixed in with just relaxation or energy healing, like Rife, where you put energy here through vibration or sound or red light to just move the body and make sure that the cells, you know, at the microest level were getting impacted and moved. And I share this because, you know, I faced a health crisis and I was held in such care, and they case conferenced me, but every patient in there
Is
every
like that.
morning, and then applied the treatment, and it was moderated, shifted to however my body was responding. But second, it was educating me.
So you could come back. And so this is the thing, like how it educated you is you were able to come back, maybe go through your treatments, because you ended up coming back here and doing your chemo, radiation, going through all that.
Yeah.
But how did you incorporate like some of the stuff that you learned there, you know, like to even give you that balance? Because I think when you're going through chemo, or when you're going through these changes that are happening in your body, it is a crisis, because you're like, my body's not functioning the right way. I'm losing my hair.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, all of the things are happening to your body that you've never seen before. So to go back, like, so you incorporated probably healthier eating when you got back, more maybe some meditation or movement or things like that, right? It all helped you gain strength to get through the next part, which was just the beginning of your treatment.
Yeah.
Right?
I think what's the most interesting part out of all of it is the body understands the brain.
Yeah.
So what's here flows down through your body. And so whether you think it is or it isn't, it's happening.
Yeah.
When I was at the clinic, the clinical psychologist, brilliant gentleman, said to me, "You've got the healthiest mental health I've ever seen." And I'm like, well, just tell me what we got to do, right? Like, what's next? And we went and we talked about, you know, the stories and who all had cancer. And then I sat there and I went, in the family I was adopted into, 4 of my siblings, 4 of 6 of us, and I'm being the last one, all have been diagnosed with cancer.
Really?
Yeah.
All of us. Wow.
And so you're like, is there a common thread? I don't know. Was it environmental?
Interesting.
Don't know. But I just went, oh, hell no. This is not my story. What are the things in my control that I can do?
Can control.
Right?
The best.
So, you know, what are the lifestyle changes I need to do? How do I change stress? Was it caused by stress? I don't know. But if there's an element of it that it could be impacted, I'm going to make a change.
Yes.
Nutrition. What could I do to change it? So nitrates, alcohol. When someone tells you you've got a 68% chance in the next 5 years it'll reoccur, you go, oh, and they say to you, you know, how do you impact that? Alcohol is 9%. Wow. Right? So I'm like, I don't need alcohol.
Yeah.
I can change that. So do I go from 68 now to 77? And then it was fitness, 30 minutes a day, because you want the blood to flow. Because where does cancer come from? It's in your blood and the cell development and the cell death. So you need your body to move. So doing 30 minutes a day adds 14 more percent. So now I'm at 91% of limiting the chance of reoccurrence. These are things in my control. Why wouldn't I do it? Why would I not do it? And I can't know which one to pull.
No.
It's all of it.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of all goes as a bundle, like, because you can't, and then you're so aware of just like being balanced, you know, as well. I don't know, like with you, like I just feel like we've got one life to live, you know. So I'm just like I always, you know, like what more can I do to make my body get through all these years? And the other thing too is like you have been given another opportunity to continue on, like you know, your journey is still ongoing. And I'm sure that things are working right, not working right, still trying to figure it all out. But the thing is you were given another chance. So you're really going to take that chance because like you're still young, you know, you want to go, you want to do things. You also want to be strong so you can travel or do whatever the thing is you want to do, you know?
There's nothing more powerful than having a health crisis. That's how I put it. And, you know, at the time going, is this the healthiest I'm ever going to be for the rest of my life? So, you know, I had that. I came home from Mexico November 9th. November 18th, I was in with the Canadian system. December 22nd, I knew I was going to start chemo, which everyone knows the story of chemo, what it does to your body. And it is a critical function that it does.
Yeah.
You need to use every tool in your tool belt to make you healthy and leverage. So science, functional, nutrition, everything. It's all a part of giving yourself the best chance.
Yeah.
But in that moment of November 18th to December 22nd going, I have 4 weeks that this is the healthiest I might possibly ever be.
Right.
What am I going to do with that finite set of days? Was a really daunting moment.
That is crazy.
It was. And it's like,
Scary.
it kind of was. And then, again, you're like, okay, here's what I got to do. Here's all the things I want to do. And now the focus really is on getting through treatment.
Yeah.
Getting well.
Yeah.
Talking to other folks with cancer, and learning what's about to happen to your body and how you get through it. Critical.
Yeah.
And I talked to a number of people, but I educated the heck out of myself.
That's good. You need to, right? And
Yeah.
that's kind of become your focus. So that's kind of where your path is drawn for you. And you
Yeah.
weren't expecting to go down this path at all,
No.
which has put a little bit of a halt on,
Yeah.
other things in life. But, I think you and I talked about was like, now that you've gone through this health crisis, how are you gonna, how might you be making changes in whether it's a career or it's in life? Like, I think you're going to travel through the next part of life with a completely different focus.
Oh, yeah. I think the piece that you bring up is my identity before was this corporate career gal. I stand on my own 2 feet. I've been empowered by this brilliant mother. I was empowered by this woman who gave birth to me and gave me life and, was just too young to care for me. She was 16 and said, someone else needs to raise you. I'm not able. So I have been held in love my entire life without identifying it that way.
Interesting.
And then, getting to that place of, you guys all gave me this trust and faith that I'll get ahead and I'm empowered. And if you fall down, just get back up because you'll be stronger the second time. That's always been the thinking.
Your thing.
And then so I step into this corporate world and I'm surrounded by 50 different versions of my dad.
Yeah.
Like my,
Yeah.
And I'm like, they were tough folks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, just show up as a good human and work hard and just work harder. And then all of a sudden it was like, stop. Because if I don't, I might not be here. Like it is. And so the career and this identity around who I am as chief people officer or running an organization, all of a sudden did not matter.
It didn't matter at all. Hey, so crazy.
Gone. Not the priority. Health is the priority.
Health is the priority.
And I couldn't buy it. So it didn't matter how hard I worked or how much money I had saved. It did not buy me good health. Period. It gave me options.
Yeah.
That I had the flexibility to do some things, but it still didn't mean I was going to return and come back and be the same person I was before.
Yeah, no, you can't
with this
be.
Cancer and cut it out. And I got stopped dead in my tracks, and I'm actually most grateful for getting stopped dead in my tracks to go, what's my priority?
Yeah. Reevaluate your life.
Yeah. Why am I here?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? What really matters? How much money do I actually need? Who's impactful to my life? You really hit that mortality piece where you go, I now actually need to think about death.
Yeah.
And am I set up for death? Not in a negative way.
Yeah.
Am I set up with it that what I pass on, all the estate things are taken care of? Are the people I love taken care of? Is that all in place? It's almost like this transition list. And then you sit there going, that date is actually going to happen. I always knew it would, but this just
it came closer
really
to you, and you weren't expecting it.
No. And so now, you know, I've read books like The Untethered Soul.
Yes, which I do recommend. It's a deep read, but it's amazing.
And I would say go to page 178
Yeah.
and actually look at it as you don't know life till you know death. Because we're floating through every day saying, I'm going to travel here, or I might do this, or I might connect with this person. But when you hit that date that death will happen, then you become very intentional.
You have to,
and that's the shift.
Yeah.
Is your days become intentional. And that's the gift out of this. Is like,
I love it.
What do you change? And it's really about the intentionality of life.
I think intention in anything you do in life is very important, even to the point of eating. Like I went to a Chopra health retreat after I closed Soul, because I also needed something to
detox.
Yeah, I needed to just, I didn't know. I was at a really, really, really bad space, and I was like, I need something to either uplift me or just give me the tools to get me out of this. And everything was really about intention. And what I loved about that, being in the corporate world, being busy, owning a business, like doing what we're doing, there is really no intention. Like if I now like look back at my life, I'm like, I ate at my desk, I ate in the car, I on the computer, having conversations, working, doing this. But was there really full intention of something? Like I feel like too much was going on where you really couldn't give it your all because you're just so caught up in that busyness.
Yeah.
But that Chopra thing, like I now have brought like live with intention, eat with intention, move with intention. So like I would go to a fitness class, right? Or I would teach a class and I would just do the class. Like how many people just come and do the class, or how many people just go for a walk because they're going for a walk? I just got to exercise. But can you shift your mind and be like, today I'm going for a walk because my intention is to move my body.
Yeah.
So give your full 15, 20 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour.
Yeah.
Give your full 15, 20 minutes to that walk.
Yeah.
And not be like, I'm walking 15 minutes, got it in. But that's all we did, right? We're like, I just got to get the fitness in. I got to get the good, I just got to get my water in. I got to get my food in.
Yeah.
So sorry, I get sidetracked because I'm like squirrel, but we go back to Chopra is eat with intention.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh, I had to, so we all were in this thing. They're like, you have to eat lunch by yourself. I was like, and no one, you can't talk to anybody. So I've never done that before. Like where I was intentionally doing that, I would eat by myself, but not intentionally sitting there and eating and looking around and it's dead quiet.
Yeah.
Like, and there's people in the room. So I will eat, but then you start to like think about what you're eating, what it's doing to your body. So now like every time I try and eat something, I'm like, I put a grateful attitude towards it. Thank you for this food. Thank you for this food that's going to be nutritious for my body. And thank you now for the people who grew it. Like it goes on and on and on. You can think about the people that the farmers that grow your food. I know it's like crazy talk, but I just feel like
Not at all.
once you start to live with intention, and I think that shift happened for me too after my Soul Studio closed, because I started to feel like, what's important in my life right now? You know, you hit this part of your life. I don't know if it's age, you know, or a traumatic event that happens. But I think if someone can take out of this podcast, like living and doing and being with intention, I think that's probably one of the greatest gifts that I got after closing Soul. And I feel like that's kind of maybe where you shifted too.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. You're just making a connection for me, as both of us knew all the things that we needed to do. But didn't.
Never.
For whatever reason.
Or we thought we were.
Oh, yeah. And then I go to post. We both went into institutes that retrained us on all the tools of everything we already knew. And I sort of smile when you say that, is I've grown up knowing how to eat right. I've grown up knowing about balancing work and life and thinking of the mental state. I've known fitness was important. I've known when I go to the grocery store, if I walk the middle aisles, it's all shelf stabilized food.
Yeah.
Which means it's got some form of chemical in it.
Yeah.
Why am I ingesting a chemical?
Yeah.
That is on the cell level having an impact.
Yeah.
And over 20 years, 30 years, 40, 55 years, how is that built up in my system?
Yeah.
And now I've got given the tools of what a clean eating diet, walking the outer walls of a grocery store does to cook nutritious food and put that into my body and think about it quite differently. So, going in and relearning those habits, but also thinking about it differently to say, when I eat this food, what is it doing to my health?
Yes.
I've actually probably given more credit to putting good gas in my car and fueling my car than I did about the food I put into my
And what
tummy.
a great, what's that called? Not correlation. Analogy. Thank you. What a great analogy. Because, I mean, even when I had Soul, I'd be like, you got to, with your cars, you have to change your oil. You got to put air in your tires. You got to, you wash your car, all these things. And then like, what are we doing to ourselves, because I feel like we don't really think about that. And I feel like the earlier you can think about it or make a change in your life, and it's actually never too late. You could be 50, 60, 70, you could be 20, 30, 40, whatever it is, start to reevaluate. Like this is like, and also in Chopra, like what I learned at the health retreat was like, this is our vessel. And I am such a soul girl because I see souls. Like I really don't see bodies, but our bodies actually house our souls. So if you don't take care of this, then you see people who are like 70 or 80, they're retired. Okay. They've all of a sudden retired. Yeah. I've heard many bad stories of all of a sudden, actually I was getting my blood work done. This was quite a few years ago, but I'll never forget this. There was a man standing in front of me, an older man, older than myself. And he's like, I just retired yesterday. He just started talking to me. I was like, oh, you did? He's like, yes. He goes, but I'm here now. He goes, because my wife had, whether it was a heart attack or it was some crisis. Yeah. And he's like, we were supposed to go traveling. Yeah. So let this be an example to say, okay, like we don't want to reach that part of our life, like, or what do I need to let go, that is causing me stress, that is causing me harm to this vessel so that I can continue to live an amazing life until I'm 50, or no, not 50, sorry, 80. 85, 90, 110. Yeah. And you see those people that are like 100, 110. I think Robin told us a story about some lady who was in her hundreds and she's swimming like these amazing, like hitting records. And I'm like in her hundreds, like, but inspiring. Like your soul still wants to move. Like your soul is here to live, right?
It doesn't age.
It doesn't age.
Yeah. The body ages.
Yeah. And we have to look after it. Yeah.
See, why wouldn't you give it your best chance?
Yeah.
And it's a shift in thinking.
Yeah.
And as I talk about that identity piece, so many of us get caught in what we think this identity needs to be. Or we're influenced by influencers and we think we need to chase that. And it's like, how do you just come home to yourself?
Yeah.
And be confident in yourself?
And find that self again. Like, and this is what we've learned over the last couple of episodes is where you're doing something and you've lost a part of you, but go back to like, even when you were younger to like connect with yourself again. And I've been doing meditations and they say, like, what would that little girl be saying to you right now? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, have you ever thought about it that way? When that was said to me in my ears, I was like, oh my God, that's so weird.
Or flip it. It's like,
what advice would you give to your younger self? There you go.
What would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Yeah.
That you know now.
And I do, like, I think about that, but sometimes I feel like if I would have given that advice to myself younger, I don't know if I would have been ready to hear it.
Oh, no.
Right? Because you go through these things and we think we're invincible and we think that we're all like, oh my gosh, So yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I've thought of that myself too, but I'm like, a lot of people told me at Soul, oh, you should slow down. You're going to da 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 da. And I'm just like, well,
I don't know what other gear there is.
yeah, actually I didn't. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And then all of a sudden I hit burnout. So I was like, oh, but I don't think I was ready to receive that information. And sometimes in life, I feel like you need to go through a crisis.
Yeah.
Whether it's health crisis, it's a job crisis, it's a personal crisis. It's a crisis that gives you another opportunity to grow.
I think that's, our temperaments are all set.
Yeah.
At a very young age. And the only time they're ever shifted is in crisis or trauma state.
Yeah.
And every single person will experience something, a loss, a divorce, a child issue, an accident, a health crisis, like something will show up.
Yeah.
And it's in those moments that you actually get the gift of standing back and reflecting and going, hold on a second here.
Yeah.
Am I going to repeat the pattern or am I going to change the pattern? And that's where I use that I looked at the past pattern and past examples and went, hell no, it's not going to be my story.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do I need to change?
Yeah.
How do I embrace this?
Yeah.
Who do I need to go talk to? Because that's also critical
And
factors.
and who do you want in your circle
in
to
my
help
community.
you? Right? You need to have people.
Yeah.
And you actually don't need 100.
No.
You need like a few people in your life
Yeah.
that can be your group,
Yeah. It's
to
not
support
a financial
you.
thing. It is just a connection thing.
Connection. No, yeah.
And that's where I come back to is, the experience I had was really mind, body, soul.
Yeah.
It was mixed with science.
Yeah.
And it was mixed with functional.
Yeah.
And it's like, why not leverage all these things?
Yeah. So cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Life is so cool. I just feel like there's just so much more to learn out there. And this is what these podcasts, like, I think this was a very informative podcast. And I feel like if you've gotten to this point, like listening to us up until now, like just do a self-reflection, and just be like, what needs to change in my life? Or am I happy where I'm at today? If I continue where I'm at today, what am I going to be like in 10 years?
Yeah.
Or even next year. This is what I say all the time. Because if you don't take that one small step can make all the difference. And you don't have to say, you know what, I'm going to go and book 5 aerobics classes this week and do 5 in a row. I'm going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Next one, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Is that actually feasible? Like, how many people fall off the wagon? Yeah. So the suggestion is start slow. Like if you need to change your eating or you do something like that, start by like adding 1 vegetable into your diet. Don't go and do a vegetarian diet, okay? Like make it so that you are successful and put the time in, because literally like reflect a year later. Like if I look back a year for myself, I'm like, I have changed. I have changed because I've put this time into my walking. I put this into this. I've limited this, and so like, where am I going to be next year if I continue on with the same habits? Maybe I'll be running a marathon again. Just kidding. But what I'm saying is, make a change, do the change, be the change, and just be thankful for health and body, and like treat your vessel as if you would treat your car.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. So of course, for this episode, I have asked the series of questions to a few people, and the one question that I ask my podcast guests are. Marlene,
Yes.
What feeds your soul?
Connection.
Ooh.
Connection. And just seeing the human. You know what? Either at Soul Studio, when I saw somebody in a vulnerable state, it's like, let me grab you. It's going to be okay. When I was in Mexico and I saw other people with various health crises, I would go and have dinner with them and say, it's going to be okay.
Like, I see you.
I see you. At the BC Cancer Clinic, when I'm there and I see somebody walk in who just got the diagnosis, I'm like, come sit beside me. It's going to be okay. Let me do this. Let me show you.
Look at.
Like, you're okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, this ain't real.
Yeah.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You've got a journey to go through. You will get through it. And
you did.
Yeah, I did. You can reach out. I always, this is the quick diagnosis piece. I had a hockey puck sized tumor in my right breast.
Yeah.
I was stage 3B, hormone receptor positive breast cancer. So anyone who is touching breast cancer, that's the type that I had. And there's various types of breast cancer that people will go through. And the treatment is adjusted based on that. So not everyone goes through the exact same prescriptive approach that I went through.
Yeah.
In this podcast, if you heard my name, again, it's Marlene Higgins, I would encourage anyone who's facing this diagnosis, find me on social media, find me on LinkedIn, reach out. Let's have a conversation, because the connection is what's going to change and help you get through whatever you do.
Amazing.
And that's either a cancer diagnosis, that's a career, that's a whatever.
Yeah.
So what feeds my soul is connecting and finding vulnerable people and helping them gain confidence to just go forward.
Amazing.
So they can thrive.
Aw,
That's it.
amazing. And I felt that from you.
Yeah.
Actually, that's partially why, like, I love being around you, is because I think I have felt that from you. You were like, you can do this, you know, like, I got you, or whatever you need to do. Serena, that's a great idea. Go for it. Yeah. Like, you were that to me. Yeah. So thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like it's just so wonderful how life just brings you all these people and the connections, and yeah. Okay, well, to end our little time together, we are going to do another soul second. Okay. And I love it because the energy in this room is actually quite, it's quite calm. Like, yeah, it's been so cool to experience all these feelings doing these podcasts. I've had so much fun. But I do love to end with just one single deep breath in through the nose and release however you like. And if you're at home, you also can take a minute to do a soul second with us. So relax however you want to be. You can close your eyes if you want to. If you don't, let's all come together right now and take a collective breath in through your nose. And exhale however you like. And there you go. That ends episode number 4, Feed Your Soul. Marlene Higgins, my Mar. Thank you so much for being a guest on my video series. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And stay tuned for episode number 5.